Makeshift Stories is a labor of love, created independently without paid staff or budget. We rely on our community to help us grow. So, if our stories spark your imagination, we'd be grateful if you could help spread the word and tell a friend or another story lover about us. Thanks for being part of our journey.
Is there a place in time where logic breaks down and wonderment begins? Could that be somewhere or sometime along an infinite line between the reasonable and the highly unlikely? Join us on a journey into the improbable.
Makeshift Stories presents Episode 302, Reality Adjustment, read by Kathleen Connolly. Opening and closing theme by Matthew Erdman. Somewhere and sometime, physical objects might prove as malleable as pixels.
Can you confirm the adjustment is complete? Larry demanded. Larry always requires confirmation in the final report. Sure, Larry, it's as clean as things in the physical realm get. It's all spick and span, I assure him. No minor artifacts lying around that someone might accidentally find? It's the usual dance Larry does at closure. Larry, does a flake of paint or a chip of rock count? All the sculptures were ground down to rubble, and the paper photos and posters were burnt. The stone and concrete were reduced to 1 centimeter shards as per the contract. There's always residue. That's just the way it is. You can't completely erase matter. Atoms aren't pixels. There are physical laws. He looks unhappy. Larry is never satisfied, and I know what his concern would be. The pieces could be reassembled, he pointed out. I had some dumped in the ocean, some buried, and the rest mixed with concrete and poured into the foundation of a building. I hadn't done any of that. It was too expensive, but I know my client. He would never check. Larry scrutinized me before making his mind up. Okay, I guess that's acceptable. Please inject the forget formulation supplied for this job. I pressed the patch to my neck. There was a prick, followed by a tingling sensation as it pumped its contents into my bloodstream. The swarm of tailored nanos would only take a few minutes to rewire my memories. I have a job for you. It was Larry, my contact at the Primate Council for Historical Integrity. When did the call start? I couldn't remember, but I had the distinctive fogginess of a recent hit of forget. Best not to go there. There are 3 anomalies that need adjustment, he continued. I've sent you the details. Ding, the inbox on my workstation chimed. Got it, I confirmed. Larry broke the connection. I suspect Larry's an avatar, but I will never ask. In my line of work, people who ask questions are either unemployed or end up as a nameless non-person in an empty zone. Preferring neither, I just do the job and then take forget as directed. The life of an adjuster can be rewarding. Adjusters fix items in physical space that contradict the official digital record. For example, a street name or structure may not match the Primate Council for Historical Integrity's data, or there may be a building where the record states there isn't one. Frequently, smaller artifacts like jewelry or furniture, an art collection or debris from a person or event that has never been, need erasure. The adjuster's job is to remove these anomalies, thus avoiding mass cognitive dissonance and all the social unrest that can result from it. After 30 years as an adjuster, I'm the best in the business. I leave nothing erroneous in my wake, only clean ground that perfectly matches the official record. An adjuster has 3 types of evidence to deal with: physical, trace, and comparative. Physical evidence includes tangible objects and pieces of things. The most commonly requested service is to remove anomalous physical evidence of non-existent people. Then, depending on the need, there is trace evidence, bits of stuff, fibers, hair, glass, and ceramic fragments, things that can move around in the environment and be traced back to something that has been deemed non-existent. It's much harder to eradicate and is only done in high-profile cases, Say, for example, there's a public personality whom some people falsely remember but who, according to the Primate Council, has never existed. A situation like that would call for a trace-level cleanup involving a large budget and multiple adjusters. Finally, there's comparative evidence, such as comparing a suspect footprint to one made by an officially real person. An adjuster will carefully erase the footprint if it is unreal. However, many people wear the same shoe types, so comparative evidence adjustment is not as reliable and is, as a result, used only in exceptional circumstances. Ding. My workstation reminded me that I had an encrypted packet from Larry. I clicked to activate it. Nickie Holmes, please say yes to the enclosed job offer. Standard rates and contract clauses apply. The packet informed me. Yes, I said. I would prefer to know the specifics before taking on a job, but if you want to work with Larry, you must do things his way. Voice print match confirmed. Hello, Nickie. The package decrypted and began to explain what I had committed to. The Primate Council for Historical Integrity has identified a list of physical aberrations which must be brought into alignment with the official record. The following anomalies in the Northern Regional Metropolitan of the Central Primate Province do not exist. 1242 Spruce Street, a corner store located at Ashburn Street and St. Matthews Avenue, and Car 42, owned by Northern Auto Shares, in the same city. These objects and locations will be non-existent on March 21st at 12:01 a.m. Adjustments must be conducted in the preceding 30 minutes. Upon completion, any orders pertaining to the adjustment will be wiped. As usual, forget injection is required within 15 minutes of the final report. The Primate Council for Historical Integrity certifies that the above objects and locations have never existed. The message window closed, and the file disappeared from my desktop. 3 large physical objects, and the timeline was tight. I'd need help. Noah, I've got a job for you, I explained to my second cousin. I'm based in Minneapolis, the metropolitan of the Central Primate Province of Independent States. The targets are 1,000 kilometers northeast, in Winnipeg. Noah lives there and acts as my local expert. Finally, I get to work with you, Noah beamed excitedly. We've probably gone through this multiple times, but I'll never know. I take it on faith that we've worked well together in the past. Thanks to the miracle of forget, it's always the first time. I texted him the specifics. There are 3 targets: a house, a store, and a vehicle. The house and store are in our great-grandparents' old neighborhood, Noah noted after reading the message. So you or me or both of us might have randomly seen the targets when we were kids visiting Nana. Stop right there, I advised. We couldn't have seen them because they're anomalies. Leave it at that and don't scout around until I'm there. I'm making that a condition of your contract. I broke the connection and erased the record of our call, expecting Noah to be smart enough to do the same. Never remember something that is potentially anomalous. That's the golden rule of survival. Driving was logistically easier than flying. Flying required adjusting airport records and passenger manifests. On the other hand, driving involved popping forget and a sleeping pill at the end of the job before instructing the navigation system to take me home and reset once it had. I'd wake up in the parkade at my apartment complex, thinking I had just dozed off. The car took me along the 94 North through an extensive empty zone, which squeezed the highway on both sides just outside the city's northern boundary. Every town had several. This one was a ramshackle of rusting shipping containers and plastic tarps jammed to the bursting point with non-people who, according to the official citizen lists, didn't exist. There was nothing to see in the empty zone. It was empty, devoid of reality. Anything there was an illusion. Although it was common to hallucinate while passing through one, a small dose of forget usually fixed the problem. I watched the road ahead and did my best to unsee the ragged people going about their business. Soon the empty zone gave way to the endless monotony of the flat northern plains. It was almost as effective as a sleeping pill, and I dozed off. Thump! 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 I woke from mid-dream disoriented. Where was I? Nickie, my cousin's voice was muffled by the glass. Then I remembered I had fallen asleep somewhere north of the empty zone. Outside, the sun was shining low in the sky. The car's travel timer indicated 8 hours. 8 hours! I had slept through the entire trip. Nickie? Noah thumped the glass with his knuckles again. He looked young for a person in his early 60s. With a full head of graying hair and skin still taut with abundant collagen, Noah had the energy of someone much younger. 7 years older than me, I hoped I would be as healthy at his age. Shaking off the last bit of fuzziness, I opened the door and stiffly stepped out. We were standing on the sidewalk in front of a mid-20th century low-rise apartment on a busy 6-lane street I couldn't recall the name of. Parts of my family had lived in this isolated northern metropolitan for generations, and I had been up to visit many times before. How many of those involved working with Noah? I'll never know. Great to see you! I gave Noah the mandatory familial hug and stepped back to examine him. My cousin was the kind of person you'd never notice walking down a street. Perfect for our line of work. Did you renew your license with the Primate Council? I asked. Noah was sometimes lax about licensing, but why would I know? I shouldn't know that. Had that detail slipped by some poorly targeted forget after our last job? This time, to be safe, I'd take a broader spectrum dose to ensure nothing fell through. No worries, cuz, he smiled. I'm up to date. Okay, I'll take your word for it. Help me with my bags. We pulled my luggage out of the trunk and climbed the stairs to the 4th floor. The building had escaped modernization, so it lacked an elevator and, more importantly, a security system. It was one less data point that would need adjustment at the end of the job. Nice place, I said approvingly while trying to catch my breath. Noah's apartment was near the stairs on the back side of the building. He unlocked the door and we slipped inside. I stacked my bags in the hall closet, and we got down to work. Let's check out both places remotely, Noah suggested, switching on his workstation and pulling up a satellite view of the city. He typed in the house's address, and the map zoomed in, displaying a top-down drone-like view as if the camera were floating 100 meters above the ground. I'm sure you'll recognize the area, he added. I cringed, willing him to stop with the recognition stuff. You know how forget works, Noah, I reminded him. It's only so precise, and after repeated use, some memories bleed into each other and make new ones. We may have done another job in a similar area, that's all. Sure, Noah said, and thankfully let it drop. I've got a contractor lined up. Is it going to be a vacant lot, a new house, or a green space? Larry didn't specify. Let's go with a vacant lot, I suggested. It's cheaper and faster. Great, that makes it simple. Still, I want to do a walk-by just to make sure what we're seeing on the satellite view is current. The council is sometimes too cheap to update the public data. And the contractor? You trust them? Yeah, they're solid. If they had messed up, I would have left myself some kind of hint. The next day, we took transit to the targets. The local system is so old that it doesn't track riders, which is why we chose to use it. An ancient diesel bus dropped us off on Sargent Avenue in front of a boarded-up storefront. The driver watched us get off before accelerating away in a cloud of greasy black exhaust. Instinctively, I reached into my pocket for my handheld and found empty space. It was in Noah's apartment as a decoy for our movements. This way, Noah directed and started up the closest street. I checked the sign. He was headed up Spruce as if he walked the route every day. Large stumps lined the boulevard. Non-trees, he explained needlessly. The street was a mixture of new homes, vacant lots, and original structures typical of the era. Its vague familiarity creeped me out. It was a hot, shadeless day, and I was sweating when, 20 minutes later, we casually strode by, surreptitiously checking the place out. It was an original, built in the first half of the 20th century. We walked around the corner, ensuring we couldn't be seen before stopping to confer. I'm getting a déjà vu vibe from this place, I admitted after a few minutes. Yeah, Noah agreed. I think our great-grandparents' house was 2 streets over. Or in an entirely different neighborhood, I said, hoping it was true. These types of streets all look the same. Maybe Noah was right and we had been there. Maybe the forget we used on a job had been sloppily targeted, or maybe it was something else. For the first time, I was curious about whose physical evidence Larry was having us adjust. It's too dangerous to go there, I tried to convince myself. I don't want to know. You don't want to know what? Noah asked. Never mind, it's not important. When had I started talking to myself out loud? An older woman stepped by out of the blue, trying not to notice us, as if we were non-existent. Where'd that woman come from? Noah shrugged. There was no one around us last time I checked. The woman, dressed in baggy clothes, making it hard to determine her age, quickly disappeared around the corner at the next intersection. Probably just wants to keep her nose out of adjuster business. Or it was just a coincidence, Noah suggested. If someone suspected we were adjusters, they would cross the street and stay as far away as possible. That woman wanted us to know she saw us, Noah. She was so close I could smell her perfume. I need to see where she goes. I rushed to the corner, then casually walked around it, expecting to see the woman in the distance. The street was empty. She could have gone into one of the houses. I jumped. Noah had followed me. Want to walk up the street and look for her? He suggested. No, we'd be too obvious. Maybe you're right, it's just a coincidence. We'll go with that. Did you see anything that'd change your initial job assessment? It's a straightforward removal, Noah confirmed. Good, we're done here. Let's go before someone else notices us. The store was close enough to walk. Noah's head swiveled from side to side, taking everything in. It feels like we've done this before, I admitted after we had walked a few blocks. When we were young, maybe 6 or 7, Noah agreed. I think we walked over to the Target store from Great-Grandma's house. Doesn't that imply we may have crossed paths with the non-person we're cleaning up after? Maybe some kid we played with back then, or someone related to one of Great-Grandma's neighbors, or... Drop it, Noah, I warned. Don't encourage the memory. But, he began to protest. I stopped, grabbed his arm, and spun him around. Believe me, we don't want to remember. We just do the work, that's it. That's how we stay in business. That's how to keep from becoming a non-person. Okay, 'cause I get it. I know I was just... Curious? No one can afford to be curious, Noah. We may have had a similar conversation during every job. I don't know, and I won't remember this one either. When we eventually arrived at St. Matthew's Avenue, we were forced to wait as a convoy of self-driving delivery vans drove by. The store was on the other side, now boarded up. A faded candy cane striped pole painted on the corner of the building hinted at its last use as a barber shop. What's supposed to happen? Noah asked, carefully eyeing the structure. I want to see it up close, I said, ignoring my cousin's question. The déjà vu was strong at this location, drawing me in, forcing me to cross the street to stand in the shadow of the 2-story building. Noah followed. It's supposed to be an apartment with a home office, closed and boarded up like this, I explained distractedly. A simple conversion, that shouldn't be hard for you. I guess, Noah hedged. You guess? I thought this was a specialty of yours. Have I misremembered? Noah stiffened, put his hands in his pockets, and looked away. I had offended him. A faint scent tickled my nose as I led the way around the corner to see the other side of the building. Are you smelling that? Smelling what? Noah, still miffed, spat back. The perfume. It's the same perfume the woman who passed us on the street was wearing. We're being followed. To be continued.
If you'd like to connect with us, please email makeshiftstories@gmail.com or visit our website at makeshiftstories.com. Makeshift Stories is released around the beginning and middle of the month. This month's story was read by Kathleen Connolly and written by Alan V. Hare. Opening and closing themes were composed and recorded by Matthew Erdman. Audio production and editing by Vicada Studios. Makeshift Stories is released under a Creative Commons non-commercial, attribution, no derivative license.